Intel HD Spider-Man on Intel HD, gorgeous lighting, 60 FPS, Intel HD Master Race. Recently, I've been playing a lot of Spider-Man Remastered on my good old Lenovo Legion Y520 laptop with a 4GB GTX 1050, and I've been loving it. And one of the reasons why I've been loving it is because of how nicely it runs even with medium settings. This got me thinking, maybe you can also run it nicely on something even weaker, such as Intel HD Graphics for example. I know it sounds ridiculous to ask, but can Intel HD Graphics actually run Spider-Man Remastered nicely? The answer is yes. Yes, it fucking can, and with 60 FPS. So yeah, welcome to this video where you're gonna see how to run Spider-Man 2018 at 60 FPS on Intel HD Graphics. A quick shout out to the people who requested this game, and let's begin. Now, sorry to disappoint the Celeron Master Race, but no, Spider-Man Remastered doesn't work on the Celeron ANN2840 laptop because it requires DirectX 12 and more than 8GB of RAM with Intel HD Graphics, both of which this laptop doesn't have nor support. So for this video, I will instead be using my Lenovo Legion Y520 that I mentioned in the beginning. It has an HQ CPU! 16GB of dual channel RAM, a GTX 1050 that we don't care about, and the CPU's integrated graphics, the Intel HD 630, which we will be testing the game on. To ensure that the game utilizes the Intel HD 630 instead of the GTX 1050, I went to the Windows settings, and there I went to System, Display, Graphics settings, then I clicked on Browse and navigated to where the game's executable file located in my Spider-Man folder is, then selected it and I set it from the options to power saving mode. I ran the game using the very low settings for obvious reasons and the beautiful and crispy resolution of At first, the Intel HD 630 managed to run the beginning cutscene surprisingly well. And even now that Spider-Man is swinging, it's still handling it nicely, I think. However, once Spider-Man reached the bad guys who are shooting at the officers with their assault rifles, and that tank truck exploding and stuff, and then Spider-Man suddenly appearing to save the day, yeah, the little Intel HD kinda struggled, you know. But then again, this game should be running on Intel HD graphics, but it's still running it for some reason. Still, let's see what we can do to improve the FPS. This game's config is actually located in the registry editor, which you can open by simply searching regedit in your Windows search bar. You will find the config in HK Current User, Software, Insomniac Games, Marvel Spider-Man Remastered, Graphics. Looks pretty good, right? Until you realize that there isn't really anything we can tweak here. Well, with the exception of one value, Async Compute. For those asking what the hell is Async Compute, well, according to the guys from Linus Tech Tips, it allows the graphics card to do compute tasks out of some order so that the GPU can better utilize its resources, or in other words, it helps the GPU run games more efficiently. Sounds nice, doesn't it? except that older graphics cards, such as my GTX 1050 from the super ancient year of 2017, have been reported to struggle more with that async shit turned on. So it's no surprise that the Intel HD 630, which released exactly one day before my GTX 1050, doesn't like it either. To disable it, just change the async compute value to 0. Simple as that. Now keep in mind that disabling async compute can make the game utilize more of your CPU, but this ain't a problem for us. After all, we have an HQ CPU! The next step is lowering the resolution below 800 by 600. First, set the game to windowed mode, then make sure to maximize the game window, and after that, minimize the game, then right click on your desktop and go to display settings. In the display settings, this time we're gonna go to advanced display settings, display adapter properties, list all modes. In this menu, we're gonna choose the lowest resolution available and then click OK, then apply. Ladies and gentlemen, we have lowered the resolution of Windows 10 to 640 by 480, and this is how Spider-Man Remastered looks like now. But I can go even lower than that. I can go to 512 by 384, 400 by 300, or how about 320 by 200? Oh no, what have I done? Please help! Okay, 320 by 240 then. Okay, maybe 400 by 300 is the way to go then. With the 400 by 300 resolution, the game now looks, well, absolutely awful, but hey, it is a little bit smoother than before, even when swinging. Although there are still some frame drops, mostly during some cutscenes such as this one here. So yeah, it is something that you have to live with no matter what, if you want to play Spider-Man Remastered on Intel HD graphics. Well, that's why the big boat has another trick. From the graphics settings, you can lower the FOV to -25. Now this can make playing the game a little bit more difficult, but then again, that 400 by 300 resolution is already making it a little bit more difficult to play, so if you really want to play Spider-Man Remastered on Intel HD graphics, you might so sacrifice the FOV too. So yeah, the omega low resolution and the headache inducing FOV, well, that's a necessary sacrifice if you want to run Spider-Man 2018 on your crappy PC, you know. Still, the super pixelated resolution, the terrible FOV and the mediocre FPS did not stop me from beating the crap out of that fat idiot and his bad guys, or in other words, I was still able to finish the beginning of the game on the Intel HD 630 despite everything mentioned, which is honestly incredible. So now that I finished the prologue on the Intel HD Graphics 630, there's another thing I have to mention, the lighting. Now, you might have noticed the lighting being buggy or kinda weird in many instances, with the shadows in particular being much darker than they should be, and you would be correct, because apparently the Intel HD 630 lacks some of the DirectX 12 libraries or instructions or whatever to properly render the lighting. But hey, at least it isn't too bothersome, right? Or is it? Because when I load it into my main save file where the weather isn't clear, yeah, with enough squinting of my eyes, I can definitely tell you that New York isn't supposed to be that dark. I mean, come on bro, even GTA 4's Liberty City looks like the Maldives in terms of lighting compared to whatever that is. So in this situation, what you should do is increase the brightness to 100 and use this suit, because it allows you to see Spider-Man clearly even in the darkest Intel Extreme Buggy Graphics bugginess. Also, never use upscaling in Spider-Man Remastered on Intel HD graphics unless you want a nice dose of epilepsy. It doesn't matter whether you choose FSR or IGTI, it will always have this horrible flickering. Anyway, The glitchy lighting is something that you will have to live with if you still want to play this game on Intel HD graphics. It's most apparent when it's nighttime or the weather is cloudy in-game. The only way to fix the lighting is to either buy a graphics card or a better laptop if you're a laptop user like me. I'm sorry. The final thing to mention is that the game has a bit of a memory leak problem on Intel HD graphics, so you might want to restart the game every now and then, especially if you have like 12 or 16 GB of RAM. And sadly the game doesn't work with 8 GB of RAM from what I've seen, because with 8 GB RAM, the Intel HD/UHD graphics don't have enough VRAM for the game to utilize, so it just crashes after the main menu. With all that said and done, there's one last thing to test in this video. I think it was a Duck software or something like that. Oh right, lossless scaling. So, with the game's executable's frame rate locked to 15 using River Tuner and using the revolutionary piece of AI tech included with lossless scaling called LSFG 3.0, using X4 mode to try to achieve 60 FPS, with 25% resolution scale and no scaling because we won't need it. And before some Fortnite kid exposes me for making fake videos, yes, I will be using the Intel HD graphics for the frame generation. Once again, I will lower my Windows 10's resolution to 400 by 300 and I will be playing the game in windowed mode, just like how I've been doing it so far. And yeah, apparently the Intel HD 630 can do 60 FPS in Spider-Man Remastered. Well, sometimes, because most of the time it's more like 10 to 15/40 to 60 FPS, because the Intel HD 630, well, it cannot really maintain the 15 FPS base. Then again, there are many jobs below 15 FPS even without lossless scaling frame generation, so no wonder the Intel HD 630 is struggling to get 60 FPS most of the time here. In terms of playability, it honestly isn't all that bad. Yes, it looks horrible and you can barely see what the hell is going on, and the artifacting is insane because this is frame generation from a 10 to 15 FPS base after all, so the frame gen AI doesn't have enough information to generate good frames from. However, there isn't a lot of input latency, and that is obvious by the fact that I can still beat the crap out of the bad guys. Anyway, you get it, 60 FPS are possible in Spider-Man Remastered on Intel HD graphics. I optimized demanding games for low-end hardware like the Intel HD Graphics 630, so if you also use a computer with low-end specs, feel free to check out my other optimization videos from the playlist on the screen. You can also suggest any game you want me to maybe optimize in the future, such as Marvel Spider-Man 2 for example, which recently came out for PC. I'm sure it will also run on the Intel HD 630, right?
Ho 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 ho.